As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. All right. If Taylor's still in here, I have to do this story for him. So I want to get to it because it's a Razer story. And the headline here is, Faker teams up with Razer to design and develop gaming peripherals. So maybe I'm sure this is maybe not that argued in the league world, but the greatest League of Legends player of all time collaborating with Razer to design a series of gaming peripherals, including a mouse and mouse pad. They will be sold in the T1 shop in Seoul, and I assume they will be sold in Razer stores. It's not mentioned here specifically. Maybe Taylor knows. And it's interesting because we haven't seen that many collaborations between pro players and hardware manufacturers. There have been some, right? There's the Shroud and Logitech, where it's branded and supposedly there was collaboration there. There was, I'm trying to think of others. Scream and Final Mouse, right? Did a collaboration where they did a mouse together. Ninja did a mouse with Final Mouse. We have the Booga peripherals at Walmart, or at, not Walmart. Five Below.
Didn't you just get the Courage JD headset at Razer?
That's true. Courage JD did do a partnership. I think what I like about this is, unlike the Courage JD thing, Faker's the guy with real credibility from a performance standpoint, right? Like, I don't want to play like Courage. I definitely don't want that. But I would like to be as good as Faker. What's interesting, and maybe you guys knew this or didn't know this, but Faker actually did a collab with Samsung. He did a monitor. In fact, the same monitor that I use, they did a Faker version. It was just red instead of blue. Like, it was just a color difference. There was nothing specific about it. But how do you guys feel about performance peripherals being done in conjunction with top esports athletes? Is it a trend you like? Is this going to be a huge success?
It's a great idea. We see it in shoes. We see it in makeup. We see it in tons of different industries. It should happen more often here. Plain, simple, in and out. Yes.
Why do you think it doesn't, William? Because it really doesn't.
Yeah. Because it's a newer industry. And because I think it's difficult for these big brands to interact and get deals with streamers and content creators and the influencers, historically, right? It's just been difficult. It's been a different industry. Probably the agencies and the branding contacts that people had historically didn't have a way of getting in touch with them easily. They weren't probably part of standard pitch portfolios. All that's changing. We're just going to see it a lot more.
But to me, there's an important difference here, which is there's a difference between taking an influencer who isn't necessarily good at the games and making a flavor of G Fuel, or making a mouse pad that has their logo on it. Like that to me is one thing. To me, that's very different from taking someone who's the greatest, League of Legends player ever and saying, design us a mouse, right? Make a mouse that is going to be great for you. And I don't know if that's the process Razer's going through with Faker. I don't know. I don't know if they're just going to slap Faker's logo on a Razer Viper or something like that. But
oddly, I'm fine with both approaches. I mean, I quite seriously, I obviously like the Faker build his dream product more, because I think that's better. That leads to innovation. It's exciting, right? But oddly, I'm okay with either. I'm okay with the label slap too. There should just be more. These people play the games for a living. They should be monetizing their influence more directly. And particularly, again, marquee names like this, you should see more cross activations with.
Why don't we then? You think it's just what you said before?
Or you literally, think it's more literally like just what I said. Literally
enough
just what I said.
mainstream, mainstream. Does to some
you have
extent
to
like
warm
is
up to it.
Logitech?
Hold on, you have to warm up to it. Think that you're a huge brand and you want to do a product. Before you do a product line, if I go in and pitch, I'm going to do a product line. My boss is going to come back to me and say, why don't we start with a sponsorship? Let's get the ROI on a 12-month, 18-month sponsorship, see how that performs, then come back. Then we can talk full in product. That's all that's happening here. It takes time for the industry to thaw around these. It's a major commitment to manufacture and produce peripherals and durable consumer goods. It's hard to do. It takes warming up to and series of staged investments.
Can I just put one thought on the table here, which is, and Jeff, to your question, I just looked it up. Okay. Faker has 411,000 followers on Twitter. Okay. Courage has 1.8 million followers on Twitter, right? I couldn't care less about a headset tuned by Courage. Yeah, the blue and gold's kind of a cool colorway, but like, I don't like Courage tuning a headset for a specific game is not like making me jump up and down and get excited about it. Faker does, because I know something, he's going to have some, special sauce in there. He's in his head that it will be made in a certain way that may improve my performance. Are the decisions being made purely just on the size of influence? And the reality is the top tier esports pros don't have the following of the top content creators and streamers.
Well, I guess the simple answer is yes. I'm a little bit confused exactly. Like, there's two different sides of the market. I think they will both exist. I'm just not sure. I'm trying to put it in a parallel.
But is it like
sports?
Ramsey?
I don't know why you're assuming that Faker is going to come up with some great technology like that the folks at Razer who do this for a living like can't. Like, I don't know if Faker is like necessarily like this great mouse designer that like no one else on the planet can design great mice.
Ramsey brings up a great point. Air Jordans, right? To me, there's this key difference. It doesn't parallel with traditional sports, right? You take Air Jordans. Air Jordans are the best probably basketball performance shoe, right? That professionals wear or have versions of, right? But it's also repped by like cultural influencers also, right? They're one and the same product repped by two different groups. There's no distinction between influencer and pro. This distinction between pro and influencer seems to exist much more distinctly in the esports world. I don't know if I made sense there, but you don't get in traditional sports.
I think the really good pros in traditional sports are also influencers.
Yes.
So it's like LeBron, it's like, yeah, he's an influencer, but he's also the best basketball player on the planet. So is that the dichotomy of what?
Yeah, whereas in esports and gaming, you can have people who are horrible at the game with massive influence, and people who are amazing at the game with much less influence.
But would you say like Courage is horrible at these games? Like,
I mean,
don't know if he's like that bad.
He's not good at the games.
Than, like, the average person, though.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'd put him anywhere above the average. He probably falls somewhere in line with the average, especially if you compare it to the average of people who play games 8 hours a day, right? Like, you put it in some context also. He should be performing at a higher level given the amount of hours in the game.
I will say that when I start a new game, one of the first things I do is look at the key bindings or the fine tuning that some of my favorite streamers that are also talented, use and play with. So for that reason, I do like the collaboration. Taylor's comment, honestly, is kind of wraps it up, I think, pretty nicely right on the head. If you want to read it, and then
it says, "I'll be completely honest. Either way, I think Razer makes out the best with this. Is there are hundreds of thousands of people watching Faker using Razer product, which gets those viewers dollars to the company." Yeah, I mean,
I would say
no
even
question.
Even more so if there was a YouGov insight that said, "Hey, most of Faker's audience is actually Logitech or Corsair or a Razer competitor." Then now you're stealing. That Razer's stealing. That's the only way to actually honestly improve that partnership and deal.
Very true. Let's move on, guys, unless you have thoughts, Jeff.
I was just going to say, I guess when you're talking about marketing, you're talking about marketing a product based on it being the best. He would then have to only exclusively use it in the sense, and it would have to be noticeably making him better in order to make that sort of.
Does it have to make him better?
Just doesn't have to make him worse.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't ruin his game.
Yeah.
Better would be ideal. I'm with you on that.